New Dimensity 1200 chipset will compete with Snapdragon 870. In the past, MediaTek chips could not boast of sufficient performance, and not many manufacturers were ready to install MediaTek processors in their devices, and those smartphones that ran on MTK were low-power entry-level devices, and even with relatively high power consumption. But now everything is completely different. With the popularization of 5th-generation 5G communications, MediaTek surpassed Qualcomm in the third quarter of 2020 and is currently ranked number 1 with a market share of 31%. MediaTek has taken over most of the market for budget devices and mid-range smartphones thanks to its own chips Dimensity 1000 Plus, Dimensity 800U, Dimensity 820, Dimensity 720 and others. This is also the result of not only the rapid transition to the 5G generation as such, but also the lack of similar entry-level chips from Qualcomm, as well as the lack of silicon Kirin chips. The performance of the Snapdragon 765G was not that impressive, and the high and mid-range high-silicon chips are almost non-existent and are the prerogative of only smartphones manufactured by Huawei. Moreover, in the mid-range device market, various manufacturers are more willing to use MediaTek Dimensity chips due to their lower price. Many MTK chipsets have been very warmly received and approved by most smartphone manufacturers. And although there is still no 5nm MediaTek chip on the market, the Dimensity 1100 and Dimensity 1200 chipsets, based on TSMC's 6nm process technology, are already in production and await their customers. If these two chips perform relatively well in terms of power consumption, they will become very good chips in the mid-range segment, competing well with Qualcomm. Overall, 5nm chips are not impressive this year. Although the performance of the Snapdragon 888 is very high, it has a high power consumption, and if the heat dissipation is not optimal, the device will quickly overheat and reduce its performance. Qualcomm seems to be aware of this and has prepared another Snapdragon 870 chipset. It is believed to be an updated version of the previous generation Qualcomm Snapdragon 865 Plus. The clock speed of the Snapdragon 870 chip has been significantly increased to 3.2 GHz and its performance is higher than that of the Snapdragon 865. The Snapdragon 870 will compete directly with the Dimensity 1200 in this respect. In the mid-range segment, the competition between the two will be very fierce. Currently, Motorola's new Edge S is the first device with the Snapdragon 870 processor and costs 1999 yuan, about $309. And the first smartphone with a Dimensity 1200 chip will be a device from Redmi. This kind of competition only benefits consumers, since as long as there is competition, there will be more economical products with better performance and lower prices. According to the latest data, MediaTek will also release its first flagship 5nm chip this year. It is expected to be called Dimensity 2000. If this 5nm chip has improved power consumption, it will be another breakthrough for MediaTek and will definitely lead to increasing the company's market share.